Hello and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer, and we're the go-to place for everything about culture and driving change in the manufacturing industry. Don't forget to check us out at manufacturingculturepodcast.com and follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your favorite social media is for more engaging updates and content. I need to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Spironi. They're a huge reason that we're able to do these kinds of remote interviews on site today at WIMTS 2023 in Milwaukee. This has been an absolute wild experience so far. But today we're going to really try and crank up some excitement. I need to know if you're ready to surf the wave of AI and automation, because our next guest absolutely is. His name is Matt Kownick, and he's the owner of Left Hand Engineering, based in the beer and cheese paradise of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Matt is not your typical engineer. He's an absolute engineering maestro. He bridged the gap between logic and creative thinking in a way that has Wisconsin manufacturing companies saying, "Give us more, please." He's got the Midas touch when it comes to new and existing product development, continuous improvement, and project management. But that's not all. Capital expenditure products, process flows, technical sales, production metrics, Matt's your guy. And talk about a trifecta of passions: water skiing, manufacturing, and beer.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's what led him to Milwaukee. It's like he took a water ski jump right into the heart of manufacturing innovation. When he's not engineering the future, he's probably cutting through the Wisconsin waters or enjoying a local brew, all while contemplating the next big thing in AI. He comes back by a powerhouse of talented engineers and product development specialists at Left Hand Engineering, all who share his entrepreneurial mindset. Because, hey, thinking like a business owner never really goes out of style, right? Matt graduated from Iowa State University of Science and Technology, where he honed his mechanical engineering skills and probably dreamed up a robot or two. So buckle up and hold tight, folks. We're about to navigate the exciting world of AI, automation, and how to revolutionize your manufacturing game with none other than Matt Kownick. Matt, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. Thank you. You are the first guest that I've gotten technology to actually work here at the show, so I really appreciate you being here today. How's the show been for you so far?
It's been good. This is the first booth for me as a company.
Okay, awesome.
So I've done a bunch of trade shows with other customers, with other employers or employees throughout the year. So I know the cadence. I know what you need to do, but I've never done it myself.
Got it.
A mentor of mine who's actually speaking here tomorrow, he's like, "Hey, Wisconsin's, they're having their manufacturing and tech expo. You should do a booth."
That's awesome.
And so regardless if it's fruitful or not, it pushed us to develop a bunch of marketing materials, get us ready, that next layer of polishing of company. As I keep telling my marketing director, Annie, the pitches that I'm working on in person, they're just not quite tight enough yet, where you make that like full impact of, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
The content's there, but man, you got to mince these words in just the right way to get someone's attention.
I will say she did a great job on that booth.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys both did, right?
It was all her.
Yeah. She did a beautiful job. That booth's amazing. And I just tried some of the salsa that you had there. My taste buds are recovering.
Yeah.
I don't know if I will actually taste any food I eat in Milwaukee this evening, because I think it scorched off like the top layer of the skin.
Yeah, I mean, we're big salsa connoisseurs, and one of my customers, they're down by the Milwaukee Airport, a company by the name of CRI Fabricators. We're doing a big process flow value stream for one of their main customers, and their lead guy, Ricardo, we were having chips and salsa at break one day, and like, "Ricardo, this is awesome. Where'd you get this?" And he's like, "My wife made it."
That's awesome.
So when we were brainstorming ways of how can we, the trade show can be so tiring, it can be overwhelming, overstimulating. Annie was like, how can we get some better ambiance of just some kind of zen of like, let's hang out and talk. And I thought, why don't we just try to bring chips and salsa in?
I love it. I don't see it happen a whole often, right? Where people bring that kind of stuff here. So
we don't know if it's totally kosher, but that's the entrepreneurial way. You go.
Hey, until somebody says that you got to stop, right?
Yeah.
You're doing well. So, Matt, tell us more about Left Hand, right? So when you reached out, actually, I think I reached out first and just said, "Hey, I'm going to be recording here," and you reached back out. I looked up Left Hand Engineering.
Sure.
You guys have not only an engineering side that I want to hear about, but also a different side. So,
Sure.
Tell us all about Left Hand Engineering.
Yeah, it's where to start. We started. I always like to take the full step back of where am I going? Why am I trying to get there? And I think we mentioned this over the phone quickly. Is for me, I want to be able to help people.
Yeah.
I want to show up for people important in my life, and then I want to be financially independent as quickly and sustainably as possible.
I love that.
So I view helping people as job creation, and let's build businesses around solving problems.
Yeah.
So all the way back into school, I had gone through a couple internships, engineering wise, like, hey, this whole problem solving thing is cool, but I think it's where it's really at is building a business around.
Okay.
So I looked at my dad growing up. He was always around, and we grew up down in Illinois, and everyone and their uncle worked for Motorola. This was when Motorola was going nuts. Okay. And we all lived in the same size house, nice neighborhood. Yep. But they were always gone, traveling. My dad was home at dinner every night. And so I was like, I want to be able to replicate for that. Yeah. Or I want to be able to replicate that for my future family. And so I realized he runs his own business. And I was like, hey, I think Iowa State has this new minor in entrepreneurial studies.
Yeah.
They'll take an extra semester in reality. What do you think? And he's like, let's go for it. So it totally, it flipped my world upside down. Completely changed how to look at the world.
Yeah.
And so came out of school and had the full intent of when I have an opportunity to start something, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when. And so an opportunity fell into my lap. I was at the time, we were running this side hustle called Vital Designs. Okay. And it was an outdoor product company that makes replacement lids for your Nalgene water bottle.
Really?
Very niche.
Very niche.
Very niche. But the number one failure point of those bottles is the cap. The lid breaks all the time.
Okay, yeah.
These things are bomb-proof. Yeah. So Buddy and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we redesigned it and made it more durable? And then with that, we built in like a bottle opener. We added paracord. There's a little 5mm screw thread insert so you can do your GoPro.
That's awesome.
The concept was, hey, you have this water bottle with you every day. Let's make it do more.
Yeah.
So while we were building that, doing our corporate jobs, we got exposed to the world of small business. And at the same time, we're doing all this product development back in the maintenance shop and talking with vendors and suppliers. And I had an opportunity fall into my lap. A company, they needed help in the world of sheet metal architecture.
Okay.
And they said, hey, we know you're looking to grow this other company. We need part-time help. Why don't you come on and start?
That's awesome.
So that started Left Hand Engineering, and we've been running since. We've primarily been probably the past 5 years, and it was strategic of I wanted to be able to cut my teeth as a legitimate engineer, do some legitimate projects, bring some products to market to show that we're technically competent, can see the whole picture. And then once I felt I had got to a good turning point, we started looking at, hey, what's the next opportunity?
Cool.
So we've got a nice base in product development, process improvement. Call that very entrepreneurial engineering. And we kind of filled this niche of I see business owners as wearing one of two hats, typically at the same time.
Yeah.
Operations and then sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And so we like to partner up with a company or an owner that has all these projects, all these ideas, but doesn't have the technical bandwidth to go out and do it. So we can come in, take it cradle to grave, all that technical jargon. And then talking with my mentor, talking with other guys in the industry, we started looking at Wisconsin and the world as a whole. And from a demographic standpoint, we're going to lose so many people. And we're going to need to be making more and more things in the U.S.
Yeah.
So that parlayed this into what we now call the Glass Factory. And it's a process to take your existing staff and then get 30% more out of them. No additional hires, no additional capital expenditures.
That's awesome.
Just we take the assumption that, hey, your piece of equipment's running, business owner says 80%. We say in reality it should probably be about 60.
Right.
And then what it actually is about 20. and from there it's big. The big thing is everything we're doing, people do.
Yeah.
We just have our own blocking and tackling methodologies, and we're just going to continue to show up, and have that discipline to see them through. So we define those baselines, and then the big thing for us is we try to empower the staff, kind of interpret and change that culture in prepping them for what's to come.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
That's the skinny.
I love it. So tell me, I mean, you went to Iowa State, right?
Yep.
Cyclones?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the other one's the Hawkeyes, right? All right. I always confuse them, so I apologize.
You coming in from the Southwest and at least knowing that there's two differences.
Well, I get all the time people ask if we're the Bearcats, right?
Sure.
U of A is the Bearcats, and we're the Sun Devils, right?
Sure.
ASU.
ASU,
people always confuse them too. So I like to at least understand what's going on out there. But
the other fun one is saying you go to school in Iowa, you get Idaho, Ohio, Iowa.
They're like, "Are you the Vandals?"
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's Idaho State, man.
We're in Ames, Iowa.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey. I mean, you've talked to us about left hand and what left hand does, but how did you, get to Wisconsin? You love jet ski, water ski, beer, and automation. How'd you get here?
Sure. Well, growing up in Illinois, I actually did not want to live in Illinois after college.
Okay.
So it didn't fit the outside culture that I like, didn't fit from just like a fiscal responsibility standpoint. The state of Illinois is not run the best, and I just didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
So I still wanted to be close to family, and I had always grown up summering in Wisconsin at lake houses and whatnot. Okay. I did an internship halfway through school in Waukesha.
Okay.
So I got a little taste of what Wisconsin is like, and the first job opportunity I had was in Waukesha. How much reading have you done on a guy by the name of Peter Zeihan?
Who?
Peter Zeihan.
None.
He, again, a mentor of mine got me onto him. He's a geopolitical analyst.
Okay.
And looks at the world in three buckets: people, natural resources, and the geography between them. And his stuff on YouTube, I've listened to a bunch of it now, and it is fascinating how he explains it from a very engineering world constraint standpoint. We keep thinking our world has infinite capacity. In reality, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's physical barriers between this, things that we need, raw material wise, people. And the way he explains it, it's super interesting. And it really, it makes me want to, I will continue to double down on the U.S. because if you look at, and I'm doing a talk tomorrow on, it's called Robots Won't Take Your Job.
Awesome.
And it's 5 steps of it's what the Glass Factory is. Getting companies ready for the world of AI.
Yeah.
We're not firing anyone. Everyone's going to be making more money. We're going to be working less. It's the only way we're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
But what Peter talks about is, if you look at demographics of the world, there's going to be some major shifts in the next 10 years.
Oh,
China's going to fall apart. They don't have the 18 to 35-year-old population that they thought they did.
Yep.
Turns out they think that they miscounted by 100 million people.
Yeah.
So all the widgets we think we're getting, all of a sudden we're not going to find them as prevalent.
Yeah.
Russia, their demographic has fallen off. Germany, Italy, Japan, all those are aging out, and they don't have the physical population regeneration of 2.1 or more.
Two countries that shock me when you look at the demographic data. One is Vietnam.
Yep.
And the other is Mexico.
What is Vietnam? Are they growing?
They're growing, and they've got that 18 to 35 population. Not nobody's close to what China was, right? Or Japan, or any other historical manufacturing powerhouse in Asia. But Vietnam is poised to really do some amazing things for their economy, right? And from an economic standpoint, they need it. They need it bad. They need to bring a lot of these jobs. They're finally getting to a point where having that manufacturing age workforce could drastically change their outlook, right?
And you're right. That's exactly what Mexico is going to do.
Absolutely.
See, the labor rates, from what Peter Zion is saying, they're actually more affordable than China.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is this idea of that the global supply chain is going to continue to break down because the U.S. isn't patrolling with the Navy anymore, which is managing of all these waterways. So now commerce isn't going to be as easy.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you physically don't have the bodies to move them, they're going to be reshored to Mexico. So his prediction is the U.S. is going to have to make 2x what we're making now to keep up with global demand.
So how do we, in that same vein, how do we prevent a race to the bottom? Because right now we're undercutting each other when we're pricing things out, right? We're not paying appropriately across the board and treating people the way they should be treated, giving them benefits. So how do we avoid what we need to do, being that race to the bottom to where it is a zero-sum game? Because I don't want that to happen.
That is an interesting viewpoint, one of which I have not thought about.
Okay.
So let me try to process this hand to mouth here. So if we look at the premise of manufacturing in the U.S., at least where I'm starting to focus is small to medium sized companies, targeting to start high mix, low volume job shops.
Yep.
If we look and if we study historically what capital equipment is being utilized at, in Machine Metrics, they actually have a great rolling year over year understanding of, and I think it's between 25 and 30% is what machinery is being utilized.
Wow.
So what that tells me is there's still enough fat on the pig to go after new work. You just have to be more efficient internally.
Yeah.
And if you increase that throughput, there's going to be more to go around. And you don't necessarily have to drop your shorts pricing wise to go get the work. Right. You just have to be creative with how you're going to get it. So it's understanding what your capacities are. And then what I find fun is once you understand what that is, how do you motivate the sales team to go, hey, in 2 weeks, we're going to have these openings Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on second shift. What can you sell us on a quick turnaround? We don't have to be making a ton of money. But what if we're at least keeping those pieces of equipment active?
Yeah, because at that point, 5% profit is better than
no.
Nope.
You're already paying for a friend of mine that I met a couple weeks ago. He had said if we think about everyone within the manufacturing world thinks about direct labor when you're manufacturing. In reality, unless you're laying people off in droves because you don't have any work, you're paying for your guys to be there.
Absolutely.
9 out of 10 days. Why don't we just move that variable cost into the fixed cost?
Yeah.
Just say, you know what, I gotta handle that nut every month.
Yeah.
And then any additional work you get goes right to your bottom line.
Absolutely. That's interesting. So tell us more about this talk tomorrow. I think I derailed where you were going with that.
It doesn't matter where this conversation goes. It's fun swapping stories.
Yeah. But honestly, tell us more about the talk you're giving tomorrow.
So from my perspective, what I'm seeing in this small to medium sized manufacturing world of what majority of the U.S. economy is built from, most companies are not ready for automation.
Yeah.
They don't have enough work for automation to make sense. And if you're any type of job shop where you're doing multiple setups a day, it's really hard to program that robot to work efficiently. It's just easier to throw Bill on the press for 2 hours. It's going to hammer out 1,000 parts.
Right.
Or it would take 3 weeks to program a robot to do that. So what we're doing is we're starting from scratch, saying telling our employees, this is where the world is going. We're going to have less and less people to do this. We all want to make more money. We don't want to work overtime. If we can all agree on that, we'd make 3 or 4 like softball pitch questions of, do you all want to make more money?
Yep.
Do you all want to work less hours? And if we can get everyone to agree on that, then we say, well, this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
We have to make more things within less time. So the only way we start by doing that is you have to monitor your capital equipment. You have whatever measurement of productivity you have has to be accurate and it has to be passive.
Okay, so I have a client who measures, uses spindle utilization as a metric of success.
Okay.
We worked really hard at trying to figure out what 3 KPIs could measure their success.
Sure.
One is revenue.
Yep.
One is scrap rate, right?
Okay.
Decreasing scrap rate.
Yep.
And the third is increasing spindle utilization, right? They are, how are those metrics different, right? I mean, I know how they're physically different because they're measuring different things, but there's got to be a correlation between all of those, right? So
yeah, there absolutely is.
It took me a while to get to that question, but I think you know where I'm trying to go with it.
So the correlation, it's a great, what I see as like a consultant, and I don't really like the word consultant because I much rather go in and be a member of the team and be in the trenches with everyone. But what you see from the outside looking in is it's just a business.
Yeah.
You look at it simply. And so if let's say the manufacturer's looking to do $10 million a year. Well, at some point you're recognizing revenue, right?
Right.
Typically that's once a month at month end.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives you a metric of month over month. If you're not shipping air, so at some point you're shipping products, right? And those products typically are at some type of average order quantity of 50, 100, 250 parts per. Well, those parts are made somehow. Either you're welding things together, you're running parts on the CNC, brake presses are going up and down, your laser has to be running.
Right.
At some point, that equipment has to be moving in order for those parts to be made.
Yep.
And for you to recognize revenue, that means you're shipping parts.
Okay.
So you're absolutely right. The KPIs we kind of run to right now is this trifecta of, we're obviously looking to hit some type of financial goal. To hit that financial goal, we need to perform to some X amount per day, per week, per month, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So we're actually working towards the contract manufacturing shops that I see is a lot of it's feast and famine. So they'll have work up to their eyeballs, then the next week it's pretty quiet. Well, in reality, they're within a couple $100,000 of revenue month over month. Right. So that feast and famine really isn't as great as you think it is. But then from there, you're still making all these parts.
Got it.
So what we work to is just simple lean manufacturing, single piece flow. For your single piece flow, it's treated as one job.
Right.
How do we get that job through the facility as quick as possible? And the KPI or the metric is the 3 things we look at is what is the total revenue shipped? There's a job number, total number of jobs associated. And from that total number of jobs is the total number of parts.
Okay.
So we know that there's a threshold of capacity of how many parts you can physically make per week.
Yeah.
Because it's a job shop, you're going to see this wild range of revenues roll through the shop.
Right.
So we do this like trifecta of we're going to do a better job of level loading week over week and understanding what revenue is actually flowing through the shop.
Okay.
So we want to hit a target number of, call it 200,000 a week, 100,000 a week, whatever that is.
Yeah.
That 200K is going to be equivalent to 15 jobs and 1,500 parts or whatever those numbers are.
Yeah.
So every week when we run the production schedule and see what is in our backlog, what do we have to ship this week? Does what we have to ship this week meet our magic number?
Okay.
As far as parts and jobs, and does it match our revenue number?
Yeah.
So that's the game we're going to play going forward.
I like it. I like
And
it a
then
lot.
from there, it's
I like it a lot. So talk to us a little bit about Wisconsin, because
sure,
I didn't really realize how innovative
sure,
of a place this was overall.
sure.
And uh, walking around the show today, uh, there's some pretty innovative companies that
Sure.
live here in Wisconsin. Talk to us about why you think that is. Why has Wisconsin, up in the northern part of the Rust Belt,
Sure.
become this place where innovation happens?
Man, that's a great question, of which I don't know the answer to. It's probably in the culture. It's in the fabric of the community. We've been making things here since World War II, really.
Okay.
So there's a lot of legacy of making. And I think it's that Midwest scrappiness
Sure.
of there's a lot of pride in making of things.
Yeah.
And I think what fascinates me is the diversity of what is made here.
Yeah.
There's so many industries that feed. Everyone talks about the Boeings, the big companies of the world. A lot of those parts are made here in the Midwest
Yeah.
and then shipped out elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer that. It's
Okay.
the innovative culture. I don't know.
So once you with Left Hand
Yep.
and the glass factory, once you start measuring the right things, or
Yep.
with your clients, what's the next step?
That is a great question. So we need to understand that we're getting good data to start. Once we know that, we then utilize the existing sales and whatever production data you have.
Okay.
If you're reporting financials, that's going to give us a decent understanding of what's happening. And what I always see is the employee has a certain idea of what can be done. The owner has this grandiose goal of typically revenue or profitability,
Right.
of which don't always correlate. So what we do is we take the existing data and we create realistic improvement plans of let's do 10%. Instead of working 220 minutes, let's work for 240 minutes.
Got it.
That's the stuff that will slowly increase. And then from there, it really starts from the top down of we try to only partner with business owners that are looking to invest in their company.
Okay.
And really invest in the employees.
Yeah.
So we have uncovered, which I'm sure you would agree with, is there is this lack of understanding of how you actually run a business.
Oh,
Huge siloed mentality of everyone's really good within their work center.
Yeah.
But once it's out of it, they don't understand what happens. And
Yeah.
myself included. I am a self-taught business person. I got a technical degree. And let me tell you, Iowa State didn't teach anything about business until I went into the minor in entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Like, great, awesome program. Both are awesome programs, but an engineer is taught to be an engineer and only an engineer.
Yeah.
So if we can assume that the assumptions we make are, hey, you're a profitable business, everyone wants to make more money, and then does your goal, hey, Mr. Business Owner, Miss Business Owner, what is your goal in the next 5 to 10 years? If it's you want to continue to see your company growing, well, this is the way we have to do it. Here's why.
Got it.
The employees we have today, you're going to have to keep them.
Yeah.
The only way you keep them is by investing in them. And like not just financially, but being there for them.
Absolutely.
And
you have to be a human, right? You have to treat them like human beings. They're not just numbers on the bottom line.
And everyone is super smart within their department.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is if you've got 10 employees today, you're going to only be able to find 7 in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So Kim that's doing supply chain is going to have to do supply chain and a little bit of accounting.
Yep.
Bill that's running the press is going to have to help out with shipping.
Yep.
There's this cross functionality. Everyone's going to have to know what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, once we get everyone to buy in of this is where we're going, we do like 4th grade style education of how do you run a business.
Really?
And so we get everyone in the classroom and do lunch and learns.
I like it.
And every 2 weeks we go through a different department.
I like it.
It's very hands-on style of tomorrow when I'm doing my little presentation, we're going to do an accounting seminar and cash flow, and we're going to be counting beans.
That's awesome.
Showing how projects go in and out of the bank and what happens with rework, or what happens if you buy all this material and then pay for payroll and then you don't get any projects hitting. What happens to your bank account?
Wow.
Why cash flow is so critical.
Okay.
And so very hands-on of, well, the other stuff we'll do with supply chain. Say you're a sheet metal company. Well, do you truly understand what aluminum is, what stainless is, what carbon steel is? We'll get samples. We'll get tin snips. We'll cut all through material. We'll pass it around.
Really?
We'll show like aluminum's a third the weight of steel, but it costs 2 times more. Well, why is that? So the idea is that the like mini program we run within the glass factory is called left-hand learning.
Okay.
And it's the idea of we want to build technical empathy.
Yeah.
So everyone technically understands what other departments are doing,
Yeah.
and the goal is to create this curiosity of proactive thinking.
I like it. And I assume those courses have all been created by you and your team.
Yep.
Yeah.
And once again, we're not doing anything crazy
Right.
innovative. We're utilizing lean principles and a good approach of we care about your team.
Yes.
Let's make sure work is enjoyable.
I like that. So what kind of cultural shifts do you think the industry needs to take to be able to adopt more AI and automation to
Ooh, great question.
make the changes that we need to make to continue to thrive in this country?
My hot take, as I said earlier in this episode, is most companies are not ready for automation.
Right.
And where it starts is you have to have a culture that's ready to adopt it and see the value of it.
Yeah.
Of, hey, we have to make 1,000 widgets. Historically, we've only made 500 with one guy. We can't find another guy. So why don't we invest in some piece of equipment that's going to help us get to that 1,000?
Right.
And there has to be a need and a demand for it. But the real start is you have to have solid data.
Yeah.
That data is going to be the driver of the business case, which allows you to invest in automation.
So it sounds like your advice is don't postpone until it's absolutely necessary, right? Because I could see that happening too in our industry, right? Where people will say, I need 1,000. I'm only capable of 500.
Yeah.
Can't find a second or third shift person. Now I'm forced to buy into automation and AI and that kind of stuff. But how can we create that case for change when people are unable to see that need in the future? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it's like any flywheel. The inertia is going to be slow to start.
Yeah.
And if you understand that cadence of, hey, I'm an employee at a cool company. My employer cares about me.
Yeah.
We're tracking our metrics of, hey, last year we were doing 100 jobs a week, and this year we're consistently doing 120 jobs a week.
Wow.
But I'm speculating right
now. No, yeah.
So we're seeing what's happening when we invest in the team and whatnot. Well, the next case is we're going to have that law of diminishing returns, right? We will eventually find the true capacity of our human capital team. And then the next step is how do we slowly build in what people call additive manufacturing processes.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a robot running the machine. It's how do you buy a tower laser where you can program a shift's worth of parts and run it on second shift.
Yeah.
So that when you get in on first shift, you have all these parts ready to be broke.
Absolutely.
So now you're not using your labor, or you're not utilizing your labor on the laser. Now you can utilize that laser labor.
Oh, that was say that 3 times fast, man. And
move it over to the press and
yeah. So how do you keep that human element alive though when you are bringing so much more automation into it?
I think it's a necessity.
Yeah.
Your team has to be empowered to want to do it.
Yeah.
And see why it's so important.
Got it.
And
so it's like any other change management.
Yeah. It has to be consistent, boots on the ground, discipline. You're talking about it every day.
Yeah.
And you're showing why it's so important.
Sure.
Of, hey, I want to pay you guys more, but in reality, this job is only worth X amount of dollars per hour.
Yeah.
If you show me how we can make more parts per day or per week or per month, like that is the business case for you to make more money.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we're going to continuously upskill you.
Right.
You're going to be a press brake operator, but then you're going to be not just running one machine. We're going to teach you how to run 3 at the same time.
So do you, does the Glass Factor left-hand learning, do you guys take care of that upskilling as well? I mean,
I wouldn't say directly.
Okay.
We we can help, but we don't have any built out curriculum for that yet.
Okay.
It's more of like it's allowing employees to turn the light on, say, oh, hey, I can go to school for this. Or at some point, hey, Mr. Business Owner, I think we have a business case here to bring in a cobot to help me load parts. Or what if I see we're running this part 3 days a week.
Yeah.
It looks like our job log, we're going to be running this for 2 years. We have a contract. What if we were to invest in tooling and invest in a cobot and run the same part in parallel with me 3 days a week?
Got it.
Now we run twice as many parts with the same guy. It's that creative thinking of, it's not just out of necessity. We have to do it.
So is that helping create, I mean, one of the most repetitious words that I hear when working with clients and prospective clients about what kind of culture they want in the future.
Yep.
Innovation is one that they all say that they want to create, but very few companies are able to actually build a culture that celebrates innovation, right? Because we are in an industry that a lot of us have prints that are 50 years old that we're still making based off of, right? And it's really hard. Government projects, DoD work, it takes nearly an act of God to get that changed, right? So how do we create these innovation pathways and create these cultures of innovation when we may not have the ability to do so, right?
Ooh, great question. I would say it is changing the way you think about innovation.
Okay.
We have specifically geared left-hand engineering to be adaptive and follow wherever the opportunity is.
Yeah.
And so because you're a machine shop or because you're a fab shop, doesn't mean you have to play in this sandbox all the time. Yeah. Why can't you go get the DoD work? You think that's 100% of your capacity? Well, we do some process improvement and open up 25%.
Yeah.
Well, that 25%, that allows you to go play in a different sandbox.
I like it.
Why don't you motivate your team? This culture of, there's a guy who I actually recommended you to talk to. I think he's going to reach out. Peter Rathman.
Okay.
He owns and operates Alice Manufacturing.
Alice?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Right over here in West Dallas. They do big, huge machining parts.
Okay.
And what he was saying is he has this culture of, the whole company is a culture of selling.
Okay.
So everyone within the company understands how and why things are sold.
Yeah.
So the programmer, the CNC guy, the supply chain person all understand what the customer is looking for.
Yeah.
So the inputs of how we're quoting X, Y, and Z, it's already aligned to making the sale. So the same thing is with that culture of curiosity.
Yeah. Of,
hey, 25%, I've got a buddy or I've got a brother that makes all these parts in this little industry. We might be able to make this with buying a $10,000 piece of equipment.
Right.
Hey, Ken, what do you think? Should we give this a shot?
Yeah.
This is the four walls we work in. Our only goal is to push more things through that facility.
Yeah. Matt, one topic that comes up on a lot of the episodes of the podcast is the gig economy within manufacturing, right? So we talk a lot about how there are opportunities. If you're willing to go spend $100,000 on a college loan, right? Yep. Why not spend $50,000, buy a Tormac machine, throw it in your garage, power it up, go on Xometry, get a couple of winning bids and start producing out of your house, right? Which I still think is an awesome thing that people can start doing. If they, instead of going to school, instead of going to work for the man or after they're done working for the man, right? If they want to start their own gig, it's a viable way. How can the future, which is automation and AI and all of this stuff that we've been talking about today, how can that help that small 1 or 2 person garage shop be even more successful?
Good question. So the glass factory for us is a 5-step process, of which we might change to 3 steps. 5 might be too much to talk through. But step 4 is once we educate everyone, step 3 is education. Step 4 is we empower the team to take that pilot program and deploy it throughout the whole facility.
Right.
And once you do that, you achieve what we call manufacturing transparency.
Got
you
it.
can look into that facility and see exactly where all the machinery is at, where your capacity is going to be, and then you can pass that transparency onto your customers and your suppliers.
Got it.
So what Amazon is doing, where you can log in and follow the blue dot to when your package is being delivered, every manufacturing company will be able to do that. You just have to build the data set to do so, and then the infrastructure to build it out.
It's basically the Domino's pizza tracker, right?
It's funny you mentioned that. It is in my presentation tomorrow.
Is it really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
So to answer your question about AI, machine learning, all that stuff, it is the future without a doubt.
Yeah.
But all of these companies, manufacturing-wise, have to prepare for it.
Okay.
The software company can be fast and nimble because their product is invisible.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is slow to turn.
Yeah.
But it's the base of our economy.
Absolutely.
So there's this adaptation that's going to have to happen. But the guy that's running the gig economy out of their garage, where I actually see automation, AI, and machine learning, is my bold statement is it's going to replace office jobs, not manufacturing jobs.
I agree.
So if you are, I always look at things ultimately boil down to time.
Yeah.
If you're running 40 hours a week and you want to be making parts in your garage, you ultimately need to be pushing boxes out of that garage to ship and recognize revenue.
Right.
Well, where are you spending your time?
Right.
Are you spending your time 40 hours a week on the machine making parts, or are you spending 15 or 20 of it in the office trying to get quotes, trying to process material, all that stuff? That's where automation, that's where AI and machine learning is really going to help, is how do you automate the sales process, make it as easy as possible?
Right.
How do you automate your supply chain so that you have some type of algorithm or machine learning where you can reach out to all of your supply chain and say, I need X material delivered by X date with this amount of tonnage or pounds. When can you get it here?
Yeah.
So that you don't physically have to be doing it. You can be focusing on making parts.
I love it. I love it. What are 3 things, this is a question I ask everybody, right?
Yep.
What are 3 things that either you've done internally at Left Hand to change the culture, align the values, right?
Sure.
Or what are 3 things that you think the industry can do to change the culture of the industry? Either or, you can answer whichever
I think
direction you want.
both of them coincide and kind of come to a point. Is we have this, how do I phrase it? Leadership is really hard.
Leadership's hard.
And no one really trains you how to be a good leader.
Yeah, especially in a shop.
I mean, they typically promote the most productive guy to run the shop.
Yep.
So you take your best guy on the machine, put him in a position where he's never managed, never led before, doesn't like working with people,
and defaults to the way his first manager treated him,
or the way he wants to be treated.
Right. Exactly.
So I look at it as, and I reflect on this a lot, is I'm young, growing as a leader myself, and like we just have to continuously and ridiculously double down on our people.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to F up. Yep. As my mentor says, people are messy. They're always going to be messy. You just got to lean into that and expect it, and hope that you doing a good job is going to eventually want them to stay.
That's awesome.
And so from my perspective, mid-level management and even executive level leadership, everyone is too focused on, which is kind of ironic. They're too focused on the metrics.
Yeah.
And they're not focused on the people of working with them and making sure they're heard. Yeah. And it's hard, and myself included, it's really hard to do when you're day in and day out, like in client work, really technical stuff. And then you have to change hats and be like, okay, I got to help this guy through a coaching situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think leaders have to build time in for it. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. What haven't I asked you, Matt?
I think that covers everything.
All right.
Who's
your mentor? You keep saying my mentor.
Yeah, my mentor. Keep him anonymous. No, I'm just kidding. His name is Kent Lorenz.
Kent Lorenz?
Yeah, and he's speaking tomorrow, actually, at an AI panel.
Asieta?
He used to.
Yeah.
He used to run it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's called Aceta.
Asieta. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been able to say it right, so I apologize,
Yeah.
Asieta, and anybody else maybe listening. I'm supposed to chat with Kent tomorrow. So
tell him we talked. He's an awesome guy. He is an engineer that is very approachable and sees the world and these big problems and can boil them down into very simple engineering solutions.
That's awesome. I dig it.
So,
well, man, thank you very much for being on today.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for bearing with me as I fumbled through this mess of technology. We're wearing lavalier microphones on one receiver because I couldn't get the rest of it to work, but using my phone, using my laptop, it's a wild setup.
And
but thank
you know what? I live in the world of product development. You get it to work. Doesn't matter how you got it to work.
Absolutely. I've got a pile of technology next to us here. It's hilarious. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. That was some amazingly valuable insights on the intersection of AI, automation, and culture in the manufacturing industry. It's given me a lot to think about, and I'm sure that our listeners are also thinking, processing everything that they've heard. So if you're craving more, and let's be honest, after a chat like that, who wouldn't be? Head over to our website, manufacturingculturepodcasts.com. There you'll find all of our past episodes, at least the last 8 of them. You'll see show notes and some additional resources to help keep you inspired. Also, don't forget that any of this would not be possible without the generous support from our sponsor, Spironi. They're not just supporters of the podcast, they're visionaries in their own right who believe in the power of a positive, innovative company culture. So a huge thanks to Spironi for making this episode and our future episodes happen. Now, here's my ask for all of you listeners out there. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, your grandma, your boss, anyone who you know who's passionate about manufacturing and culture as we are. And if you've got a minute, please rate and review the show. Your support keeps this amazing community growing and helps keep us delivering the content that you have grown to enjoy. Until next time, folks, keep making things and have a great day. Thank you.